All right, hello everyone and welcome. My name is John and this is a review of the Roma Pro coffee roaster. Now I've been roasting on this thing for a couple of weeks now, done at least a dozen batches or so, and in this video I just want to walk you through what I think are the key details you need to know to help you decide whether this is the roaster for you. Now I did receive this unit in exchange for making this video, but no money changed hands and I was not asked to say anything in particular. I was just given the opportunity to test this out and share what I think about it. Now then, if you do want to learn more about the roasting process and how to roast coffee for yourself, I do have a great video on all of the basics that you need to know, which just walks you through the principles of roasting that you could apply to this roaster or to any other setup you have. So make sure you check that out when you're ready to actually start roasting. So I have been roasting for about 8 years consistently at home, and I like this machine a lot. It's definitely a step up from the entry-level models we've had on the market, which kind of haven't changed in a number of years. So I'm happy to see this thing step up and make some improvements. It's not a perfect roaster. There are some things that could be better, but overall this is a solid machine. Okay, so the basic design, this is a fluid bed roaster, which means it has a heating element and it has a fan. So it's gonna blow hot air through the beans, getting a lot of movement going, which will roast them to your desired level. So you'll see that the machine has this chaff collector on top, then there's this central tube where you load the beans, and then there's this outer tube here, which connects it all together. These are all connected by gaskets, and it does form a nice seal, so I have found that to be quite stable. Okay, so the design of the bed in here is really smart. Instead of being flat, it's slanted, and instead of blowing air through the whole thing, it only blows air through the bottom half. So the beans slide down and then float up and then slide down, and it creates a lot of bean movement without trapping the beans in there. So this does a really good job of roasting evenly. Now, as beans reach a certain temperature, they release something called chaff, and it's important to collect that because it is flammable. So the chaff floats up and gets collected in here. And this is designed well. I would say it contains the chaff at like 95, 98%. It does a really good job, so there's no issues with that at all. It also has this nice coffee bean handle on top, which is very comfortable, and I think that's a nice touch. You'll see that this lifts off and then locks into place, making it nice and stable. Okay, so inside this chamber, there's a temperature probe that's constantly reading out the temperature of the beans. And so that's gonna be useful to give you feedback about how your roast is progressing. Okay, so this machine has been designed to use batches of 80 grams up to 300 grams. And I've tested everything from 100 to 300, and it's done a great job with all of that. You have to modify your settings a little bit depending on batch size, but once you figure that out, it does a really good job. The main thing to know there is that when you're using less beans, more of the heat is just blowing past them, so you have to use lower fan settings to get the same kind of roast. With more beans, the heat gets trapped, and so you can roast at some higher fan settings. But in any case, I've been able to get plenty of bean movement to get a nice, even roast at any batch size. All right, so using it is really simple. You pop this off, you load your beans into the center, you turn it on, and you'll either set an auto function or you will just press start and you'll control the heat and fan settings manually. Now, I did find that it's best to leave the heat on the highest setting and just slowly take the fan down throughout your roast. So I was hoping to be able to roast with like less heat just so you have a little more flexibility to experiment, but leaving the heat at the highest setting, I'm getting great roasts and I'm really happy with the results. So the way this is designed to get that bean movement is really good, and the visibility also is excellent. Obviously, you're gonna see the beans the whole time, which means you're gonna notice all those color changes. You'll know that they're moving enough or not, and you'll be able to make adjustments as you go. When you're done with your roast, you hit the cool button. It's gonna take out the heat and just blow some air through those, and it does a really good job. The industry standard that I've always heard for coffee roasting is to bring the beans down to room temperature within 4 minutes. And every roast I've done on this, it's done that. And for a lot of the roasts, it's done in about 2 minutes. So very effective cooling feature, really happy to see that. All right, so let's talk about the auto feature. So a lot of people are going to want to select a roast level, just press start and leave it alone. And you can definitely do that. It does a good job, but you have to learn how to use it. So the auto feature is pre-programmed. It's not a smart feature. It doesn't know how many beans you have in there, and it's not responding to temperature or anything like that. It makes preset changes at a predetermined time. So The problem I found is that if you're using a smaller batch like 100 grams, those profiles are not designed for that. So too much heat is going to be lost, and I tried to do a medium light roast on auto and it actually didn't roast the beans all the way. So there's no way to extend those roasts longer on auto, so if it's not getting to your level, you're just kind of stuck with it. But what you can do is select a darker setting to begin with, and then when it gets to where you want, you just press cool and you're good to go. So I would say the auto feature works well. You just have to learn which setting you want to use, and it is going to be better if you're doing 200 grams or more. And just make sure you're selecting a darker roast and then cooling it when you're ready. All right, so when you're ready to get the beans out of here, there's a flap that opens on the side, there's a lower chute to guide them, then there's a top one that you lift and the beans will come out. You can use a fan setting that will assist those beans in pouring into your container. So when all that's in place, it works well, but I've been having an issue where one of those pieces is always falling out. So when I open this flap, that little guy ejects. This is the one that is supposed to guide the beans out. And it has these two prongs here on the side, and they're just a little too short to stay seated in their holes. So I'm able to put it back in every time and eject the beans properly, but this definitely needs to be addressed so that I don't have to fiddle with it. All right, so when the roast is done and the beans are done cooling, the machine is going to beep at you. And I like to sit there and listen to it to see, how many times it's going to do that. And it turns out that it's an infinite amount. It will just continue beeping forever until you go and turn it off or until you drop the beans out through the side. So for a machine that has auto features built in, I think it should be designed to only beep like a few times, like similar to a microwave. Now, when I first started using this thing, I was a little concerned about the noise. When the fan is at the highest setting, there's a high-pitched noise that I find uncomfortable. I am personally sensitive to sound, so maybe not everyone will be bothered by that, but it would be nice if this had more soundproofing. Now, that being said, you're not going to leave the fan at the highest setting. So you might start there, but you're going to start dropping it down pretty quickly. And I have found that the noise levels for the rest of the roasts at the other settings are quite reasonable. So once I learned which fan settings I really need to use, I have no problem hearing first crack on this machine, which is a very important milestone in any coffee roast. All right, now I would like to see the ability to add custom profiles to this. The 5 auto settings are great, but I would like to be able to tweak those and pre-program my own, especially if I could send them to my friends and family or mi hermano, and we could have like the exact same roasts and the ability to replicate those together. That would be super cool. Okay, so all in all, this is a solid roaster. It's definitely a step up from the entry-level models we've had on the market for a number of years, and a lot of people will be very happy with this machine. It has handled everything I've thrown at it from 100 to 300 gram batches. I'm really happy with the coffee and roast I've been getting out of this machine, and I'm sure there's still even some more potential for me to unlock. All right, so if there was anything you're wondering about that I did not cover, please just drop me a comment down below and let me know what else you are wondering about this machine. And remember to check out that coffee roasting basics videos. That's gonna help you on your journey with whatever setup you have. All right, so thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you for being here and supporting my channel in this way. I'm wishing you all the best in your life and on your coffee roasting journey, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Peace.